Hi, I'm Carina. I'm the Youth Development Officer here at the Peak District National Park. Through my role, I work with the Europark Federation, and it is through them that we're going to celebrate the European Day of Parks on the 24th of May. This year is a very relevant and important theme. It's health. So we're going to chat with you online about what we can do, particularly outside, to improve our health in what is, for a lot of us, quite a stressful and anxious time. So I have here Mike Pupius. He's one of our rangers, one of our volunteer rangers, and he specialises in mindfulness and particularly mindful walking. So he's going to tell us about how we can get outside, relax through mindfulness, and what sort of things we need to do to be able to calm ourselves down and really connect with nature. So thanks for joining us, Mike. If you can tell us a little bit more about yourself and your role within the National Park.
Thanks, Carina. I'm a mindfulness trainer, a volunteer mindfulness trainer, but I'm also a volunteer park ranger. I work out of a little briefing centre in a place called Parsley Hay, which is in the south of the Peak District. And I've been running mindfulness guided walks for the last 2 or 3 years to introduce people to the benefits of not just walking, but walking mindfully. So, in the context of the European Day of Parks, mindfulness and mindfulness guided walks link in to these key issues. Walking provides access to nature, and this has been shown essential for good mental and physical health. Walking in nature also provides an opportunity to promote active lifestyles, and it creates health and well-being. And it's also the opportunity to connect with nature, which promotes mental tranquility and reduces stress. I'm going to first of all look at mindfulness and the benefits of mindfulness. So this is a very short introduction, and I'll just go through some slides. So just asking yourself, what's your mind like? Is it full of things, worries, anxieties, regrets, maybe things that you are looking forward to in the future? Or is it a mind which is calm and tranquil, like the mind on the right, enjoying a lovely sunny day in nature? And do you suffer from this thing, automatic pilot? Do you go into a room and maybe you've forgotten what you went into the room for? Have you been driving along and not realizing when you got to a roundabout how you actually got there? You can't remember anything about the road between the last roundabout and this roundabout. So these are all examples where mindfulness can help by bringing you into something called the present moment. So you're much more aware of what's going on and you're paying attention to what you're doing. So just briefly, again, some definitions of mindfulness, and it's knowing what's happening when it's happening. So this is coming out of the automatic pilot. It's giving full attention to the present moment, without worries about the past or future, particularly important at the present point in time. And it's noticing the way things are, noticing maybe feeling a bit stressful or anxious, but noticing them and being more accepting and just saying to yourself, well, that's the way it is right now, and not beating yourself up. And we say in our courses that it's the optimum space between attention and awareness. And that could be attention on the breath in a meditation, on sounds in a meditation, or it could be attention on the whole practice of walking. But as you walk, you can have your awareness tuned in to whatever is going on in your senses and in your surroundings. So in our courses, we teach mindfulness through meditation practices, and these are a variety. The most common ones focus on meditating on the sensations of breathing. It is just as simple as that. But we also say it's linking these formal practices with informal practices, and these can range over a wide area of from cleaning your teeth, having a shower, having that first cup of tea or coffee in the morning, doing the washing up, doing gardening, and of course, simply going out for a walk. The benefits of mindfulness are well documented, well researched, and these are some of them. I'll just pick out one or two. Certainly around anxiety, stress, and depression, mindfulness practices have shown a reduction in these particular conditions. It can help with pain management, particularly with chronic back pain, because you become more accepting of that's how it is in your body. With mindful walking, it can also enable creativity, and it can help improve emotional intelligence and awareness, becoming a more calmer person.
Thanks for that, Mike. So with many people looking to find ways to relax, and now we're allowed outside a little bit more, can you give us some tips on how we can take mindfulness outdoors?
Yeah, sure. So we define walking meditation, which is a practice of moving without a goal or intention. You can do that just walking around the room or maybe the garden. When we're out mindful walking, though, it's focusing more on the walking and being aware of each step, being aware of the breath, and it's also tuning in your senses to all that's going on around you. And you can do this, as I said, you can actually walk mindfully around a room, you can walk mindfully around a garden, but also in nature, and even with others in a crowded city. So I've been working with an organization called Street Wisdom and leading mindful walks in the city of Sheffield. And the first of some simple practices is we say, just walk towards whatever attracts you. In doing this, you can slow right down so you become more tuned in to awareness of your body and your senses of what's going on around you. You can start looking for patterns, and then you can start looking for the beauty of everything. And we found it a very powerful process. And we've incorporated these very simple principles into our mindfulness guided walks in the Peak District. Now, Thich Nhat Hanh, a well-known Buddhist teacher, has this phrase: every path, every street in the world is your walking meditation path. So you can do it anywhere. You can do it walking to work, just walking along any street, and particularly walking along the beautiful paths and tracks in the Peak District. One of our learning and discovery rangers, Jo Hanny, has connected this with nature, and she's got these 5 pathways, reflecting on your senses, the beauty of and aesthetics of what's going on around you, the beauty of the nature you're being able to perceive, to experience, how you're feeling, your emotions when you go out into these beautiful places, finding a sense of meaning and symbolism, and finally, compassion. I'll just pick up one of these in particular senses. It's the slowing down and actually taking into account listening to the bird song, smelling flowers, touching the rough bark of a tree or the roughness of a stone wall. On compassion, the last one, it's taking care of yourself, but also realizing we all have to take care of the natural world. We're all part of the natural world. And this is an important part of nature connection. So building on the benefits of mindfulness, we also have the benefits of the nature connection, which can increase vitality, improve happiness, and promote pro-social and pro-environmental behavior.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Mike. So you've talked a little bit about outdoors and in the park, and supposing for those people that want to take part in mindfulness activities outdoors closer to home, what tips have you got for them?
Well, just for a start, if you're lucky to have a garden, then just finding beauty in the garden. I mean, for example, took this photograph of catkins earlier, but it was a beautiful spring morning, and just walking around the garden, there was a lot of beauty and a lot of patterns as well to experience. Looking at the intricacy of flowers, looking at the beauty of a butterfly and the patterns in the leaves and the butterfly wings, the intricacy there. Looking at that detail around the spider's web caught in early morning sunshine. And of course the dandelion clock. Look at the structure and the symmetry in the dandelion. And you can find moments of peace, quiet, tranquility, and equanimity, which means balance.
And I think right now, a lot of us are wanting to connect back to the natural world, and also being able to appreciate it so much more without maybe the traffic noise and the aeroplanes and so on. So have you got some ideas if people were to come to the park, sort of places they could go, things that they could do in the park?
Well, one of the things we introduce on our mindfulness guided walks is the idea of a magic moment. You know, just stopping for a few minutes silently, even if you're out with other people, and just looking at the view, engaging your senses, certainly at the sight of this beautiful view. Then you can see the sheep being herded up in the valley bottom. You might be able to smell the smell of the fresh grass, hear the birds, hear the sound of the sheep. So having a magic moment, whenever you see a beautiful view, just stopping, taking a few deep breaths. You could close your eyes at that point, open them, and take the whole vista in. And you could also do this in a 360 degrees. You could actually turn round if you're on top of a peak and look at the views all around you. You can look for patterns, looking for patterns in this bracken, on this mossy wall, the moss itself, and the stone. And sensing different terrain when you walk through some rougher areas, like this dale. And taking in all the views, the color, the sounds, the smell of all that's around you. Listening and looking at water. It's lovely to sit beside a babbling stream. Finding a place to be quiet and still. Finding stories in some of the artifacts that you might see in a stone wall. Where did these inscriptions come from? What's the history behind this display? And awareness of different seasons, taken in spring and winter. Stanage Edge in the Peak District. So here's some examples of our mindfulness guided walks, just taking in and having a magic moment by the River Dove, walking through Biggandale, standing in the forest at Trenterbank, up on top, taking in the views, having magic moments. And going through Padley Gorge, in particular here, feeling the difference in the terrain underfoot, how the perception of your foot changes as you go into softer ground, into the turf. And even here, with a mindful Nordic walk, just having a magic moment beside this pond, maybe looking at the ducks.
So many great ideas there, and like I say, I know I have to remind myself to be mindful and take in all that wonder outside. So if you wanted to find out a little bit more, have you got some recommendations on where they could look?
Yes, well, there's an enormous amount is available online now. You just have to put in mindfulness and you'll get actually millions of hits. So you really have to be selective. I've got some examples here, but there are apps that you can get for your phones, both Android and Apple. I use Insight Timer, which introduces a whole range of meditations, but also acts as a timer. Headspace is a very popular one, and Calm. my own Centre for Mindful Life Enhancement, which is a voluntary organisation. It's a social enterprise, and we have a lot of free resources available on our website, www.mindfulenhance.org, and we're adding them to them all the time. A number of universities have been undertaking research and training. The University of Oxford has a centre, and it's well worth having a look at this particular website, but also websites associated with Aberdeen, Bangor, and Exeter University, which all offer master's degrees in mindfulness. I studied at Aberdeen. There's the Mindfulness Association, which was linked to the course which is delivered at Aberdeen, and the Mindfulness Initiative, which is a national organisation, and a lot of resources are available there. And of course, with Kindles, you can download books, e-books, and these are some of the more popular ones that have been written to introduce the whole subject of mindfulness. And some of them, like a mindfulness-based stress reduction workbook, provide almost a course that you can follow, accompanied with a CD. And there are more popular books. This one by Chade Meng Tan was a senior Google employee, and he developed a mindfulness program for Google, and he wrote it up in a book called Search Inside Yourself. It's a website that you can also find, and that's got a lot of very practical advice on mindfulness. And even Ruby Wax, who got a master's degree at Oxford in mindfulness, has written this book on a mindfulness guide for the frazzled. So a lot of resources are available on mindfulness. As I say, start off with a web search, or you can look on something like Amazon Books. And also books on walking. Awake in the Wild is one that actually introduces the context of mindfulness in nature as a path to self-discovery, and Walk by Sholto Radford is a lovely little book. Lots of hints and tips on how to walk mindfully. So
Brilliant.
we have mindful walking in the Peak District National Park. Carina.
Yes, so thank you very much. Lots of useful tips and ideas there. And I know I will be going out, making the most of the nice weather, and remembering to be mindful and, like I say, take in all that's around me to relax and de-stress. And I hope that we've given people there some ideas that will help you in this, the horrible situation, whether it's just in your garden, in the streets of towns and cities, or maybe here in the national park.